Oh man, the CBR with the halo turn signals. Those things just look so sweet. Especially at nighttime, just look at those things glow. These are the TST Industry ones. So nice. Anyway, that's not the topic for the video today. The topic today is going to be a little bit of a public service announcement. Let's get on with it. A public service announcement because somebody needs to say something about something that has been bothering me for a very long time about the sport bike community. And I know I'm in the minority on this, but I'm right. I love it. So what am I right about? You guys have been destroying your bikes, and I'm guilty of it too. Now, you guys know I love modifying bikes. I love personalizing them. I like to modify them. It just adds something to the experience of having a bike. It personalizes it. It makes it more yours. I get it. I modify all my bikes. I'm sitting on a bike that has like freaking $10,000 in mods almost. It's ridiculous. As much as I love my CBR 600RR, I'd be stupid to say it's not a run-of-the-mill 600. I mean, you can find these things all day. They're cheap. They're plentiful. But if you have a special bike, and you know what I mean by special, like the RC51, the Blackbird, the original R1, Ducati 996, something like that, something that's really special and hard to find, especially now, especially 20 years later after they've been produced. First off, a lot of people, especially with newer bikes, they modify them, and I get it. If it's a brand new bike, I guess it sort of adds value. But once the bike is 5, 6, 10 years old, mods detract from value, usually. There's a lot of people out there, unfortunately in the sport bike community, that don't do desirable mods. They're doing ridiculous mods, like the Chinese stuff, you know what I'm talking about, the eBay stuff. And you guys don't realize that it's just really devaluing the bike, putting cheap Chinese parts, removing the OEM Japanese parts, or Italian parts, or whatever, and putting on cheap Chinese parts is not adding value. Look at how cheap a Chinese bike is. The reason why is the R&D, the quality, everything is so inferior to a Japanese bike. Take off these Japanese parts and you put on Chinese parts, and I don't care if the Japanese parts were made in China by the manufacturer. The bottom line is they still had to pass a certain standard. They still had to pass like their OEM standards. And I'm not saying OEM's always the way to go, especially with older bikes. Like, there's been improvements. But when you're talking about like a time capsule bike, it's hard to argue that an all-stock RC51 is so much more valuable than one that's been modified. Especially, and it sounds stupid, but you know those rear fenders? I know the RC51 community knows all about this, but for you guys who don't know much about the RC51, the SP1 especially, but now it's the SP2 as well, if you have an uncut original fender, they are worth so much money. It's so stupid. They're worth, like, I've seen people list them for $1,500. Yeah, $1,500 for a plastic fender. I'm not joking. One guy, he freaking went and bought another RC51 that somebody was selling just because it had the original fender, and he took the fender off, put it on his bike, and then he sold the bike. People are crazy, but you can't find them anymore. They're no longer being made, and it's part of the look. If you have the all original, that's going to be worth more. And maybe you guys would understand if you put it into like car terms, like the Supra, for instance. An all-stock Supra is definitely going to be worth more than one that's been messed with. That's how it's always been. I'm sure you guys know that. I mean, originally, when you start modifying these things, yeah, they gain some value from the mods. But once you can no longer find the OEM parts, retain their value so much better completely stock. I know my friend Justin from Adrenaline Cycle, he went crazy freaking putting on all the OEM stickers and everything like that on his bikes because he wanted them OEM. And these collectors, they pay the top dollar. They do the market. And I saw actually an all OEM RC51 went to auction. It was low mileage too. I think it was like 5,000 miles, but it was all OEM. It was a Nicky Hayden edition, which was made for 2004 only. And I think it sold for like 17 grand. But it was like completely pristine. And it was completely OEM. Not a single bolt was not OEM on that bike. And we do this even with newer bikes. But I'm telling you right now, a good prime example is going to be the ZX4 RR. That bike, one day, especially if Kawasaki cancels it, all those people that save those OEM fenders, let's say Kawasaki cancels the ZX4 RR in 2026, right? So it only was made for like a few years, and they never make it again. In 2046, those fenders that people kept are going to be worth stupid amounts of money. Once Kawasaki discontinues them, I think after 15 years of production, the values just shoot up through the roof. And that's like it with all the parts, including the stock exhaust, the stock everything. Now, the stock exhaust is a little different because people don't usually throw those in the trash when they're done. But the stock fender, everybody throws that in the trash, like everybody does. So if you want to, so they become really rare. If you somehow get an older bike, like an RC51 or the original R1 or whatever, any bike actually, if you get any bike from like 2005 and older, any bike that's like 20 years old, I beg you to please leave it stock. And if you really have to modify it, then do me a favor and save the OEM parts. Because the OEM parts, people throw them out all the time, and I don't understand why. Even the OEM exhausts and stuff, those gain value. They will be worth a lot someday. That's pretty much it, guys. Please save your OEM parts. I understand modifying bikes is so much fun. I love to do it. I've modified pretty much all my bikes. But there is something special about an all OEM bike. Just don't throw the OEM parts out. Save them. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like the OEM look, especially in those older bikes? Like if you saw Blackbird and it was all complete OEM, that's like special. I don't know. Is it special to you, or is it just me? Am I just a psycho? Anyway, I'd love to know in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.
Let me live my life, the one I'd better lead. All the blondes of fantasies, and we looked at them 11 ways. You said, look at me, I looked away, and you wrote the song I wanna play. Alright.